Neil Jack Gibbons will have that one for you. 8 o'clock Eastern Time Friday night.
When Rodman wants the rebound, he goes to get it. No one can stop him. Look how aggressively he goes up for this one. Then it leads to the basket on the other end. You know Isaiah's going to pick it up. He's been able to get into the paint, so Fleming has to back off. And that leaves him open for the jump shot. He looks real good on that.
93-92 Indiana. Minutes to go. 93-92 Indiana. Indiana playing some good defense. McGuire will take it from outside. Chuck Daly over. Now just 1 of 3 from the line.
They have a doctor over there shining lights in his eyes, trying to make sure that he's going to be okay.
Good wind up their mark to 14-0. The manic pressure would be immense. We're a month away from the playoffs. Frankly, they needed none of that. Now, I know what it's like for the 12-1 Redskins now that they've lost and had over a week to digest it because I was at Redskins Park earlier in the week. Believe me, the Skins would have wanted some history, but they told me the Dallas loss was a blessing in disguise.
You know, each week, all the guys from Miami have been calling down here and waking us up in our hotel rooms trying to distract us a little bit. So, you know, we got that out of the way. We can just concentrate on getting home field advantage and getting ready for the playoffs.
It's almost like you're a Super Bowl world champion from the year before. I mean, that's the way teams look at you every Sunday. They're saying, hey, this team's 11-0, this team's 12-0. You know, we want to knock these guys off. So there is a little bit of pressure off us, that's for sure.
Instead of sweating every Sunday out, they're relaxed, they're relieved, and they know now that a win this Sunday gets them everything they want going into the playoffs. Home field advantage and 2 weeks to hone their game plus a week off. So the Skins are playoff bound again this just in. Even when Joe Gibbs' teams have missed the postseason the last decade, the worst they ever been were 7-9. But for others, consistency means something else. Forget NFL parity. There are 5 teams that have been perfect since 1982. They've been out of the playoffs ever since. Good thing the playoffs were expanded that year because of the strike, or else the drought would have lasted longer. We thought we'd open the vault and look at some very rare footage. The Fabulous 5 in the playoffs. Can you believe Tampa Bay was in the playoffs? They were in 82. Hugh Green picked off the ball in midair from Danny White at the Cowboys, but it was not enough to hold back the Buccaneers. They lost to the Cowboys that game 30-17. Back in 1982 was the last appearance for the San Diego Chargers in the playoffs. Great game against Pittsburgh, bounced to Winslow twice in the 4th quarter. Chargers won that game, lost the next week. Eric Coryell was great, but the Chargers haven't been back. St. Louis and Green Bay each made the playoffs in 82, haven't been back since. In that game, Lynn Dickey, John Jefferson, Packers rolled big over the Cardinals, 41-16. And it's been since 1982 since Atlanta has made the playoffs. They razzle-dazzled and Nick Nuttest with a touchdown, even though they ended up losing to the Minnesota Vikings. What's sad to note is that except for Atlanta, the score at least has that look of achievement.
Have been memorable this year. Mike Patrick and Joe Theismann, no doubt the hope the Vikes and the Bucks will continue that trend. All begins at 8 p.m. Eastern to win this year's Lombardi. And as Mark Schwartz explains, his honors might not stop there.
Out of rural teeny Washington. In just his 2nd season as a starting defensive tackle, Steve Emtman has claimed the Lombardi Award and now is the leading contender for the
first, and then he took the inside away from him. You know, at that point in time, I don't think that the right guard in this situation knew exactly where he was going, or he probably would have stopped it.
Meetings. Chris Berman will tell us what to look for in week.
He won the Maxwell for outstanding catches like that one against Notre Dame. He scored 23 touchdowns for the Wolverines this year. 19 were receiving touchdowns. Junior defensive tackle Steve Emtman out of Washington brings home the Outland Trophy, the nation's best lineman. He had 6.5 sacks for the Huskies this year, 19.5 tackles for losses. And Terrell Buckley of Florida State captured the Jim Thorpe Award for being the nation's best defensive back. He led all DBs with 12 interceptions this season, returning 2 of those for touchdowns. The other 3 Players Awards, Trevor Cobb of Rice wins the Doak Walker Award as the country's best running back. He averaged 154 yards a game. Something interesting here, Ty Detmer of BYU wins the Davey O'Brien Award as the country's best quarterback. Casey Weldon of Florida State wins the Johnny Unitas Award as the country's best senior quarterback. But both Detmer and Weldon are seniors. Huh, Jack.
Back to hoops now. Nebraska traveled the...
This kind of a game.
Yes, sir. This is the old AFL kind of football game, isn't it?
Last at bat. Well, the Bills, seemingly out of it, all of a sudden are right back in it as Al Edwards runs one back 91 yards.
Goodness.
Curtis Brown.
Scott. See Lofton on the outside. 48 Washington in coverage. Lofton does not give up. Ball perfectly thrown by Jim Kelly. Absolutely sensational. 8 plays, 64 yards, a minute and 36 seconds, perfectly thrown. Boy, this team has got what?
I mean, it was almost wide left.
Yeah.
And Buffalo has the ball at the Raider 13-yard line with 15 seconds to play. Nate Odoms is the man who made the pick. 37. Hicks is 27. He was back with him. But it's Nate Odoms who makes the play.
And this Buffalo team has got 9 lives. Goodness. That's just the 3rd pass attempt that Schrader has made in the second half. It's picked off.
And they got a kick right now. They can't afford to do anything with no timeouts.
Well, Del Weezo is on the field here to kick.
No, I think it's Norwood again. It's Norwood.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
The Bills cannot
It
risk.
is.
Bills cannot risk running a play because they have no timeouts. We still could go to overtime with Norwood kicking.
You know, all the kicks today that he's missed, except for the extra point, have been on the right hash. This one is on the left hash.
And the left. No good. Norwood misses again.
That's 10 points he's missed. Since the first half now, Jay Schrader is 0 for 4 throwing with 2 interceptions.
Likes a quarterback, who knows?
I'm pulling for him.
Everybody is. These 85,000 Raider fans. Here's the kick on the way. It is good. And Scott Norwood gets one last chance and makes it pay. A 42-yard field goal. As despite miss after miss, Marv Levy stays with him for another game-deciding try, and Norwood finally comes through. As in the second half, Jay Schrader, who played so well in the first half for the Raiders, Schrader was 0 for 4 throwing the ball with 2 interceptions.
That's home field advantage for the Buffalo Bills.
They need one more.
Excuse me, one more. If Houston
replay of the game. The decider.
In overtime.
Snap is set down good as they've been every time.
His 4th attempt is finally good, and he knows it immediately. Finally, he says, thank God. The thing goes
underdog, and they rise up, come from behind, and win it. We'll be back to the Los Angeles Coliseum in a moment.
These two met in November. That was Pat LaFontaine getting his jaw broken. Tonight, the brawl started after a Tony Tassi slash in the first period, a 29-minute break in the action involving some other action. The Sabres' Brad Miller looking to take on the entire Flame bench.
The way things have gone.
Donald Audette and Gary Suter go at it. And then, you know, let's just have a nice, happy holiday, right? Flames by to the rack in the plays of the week.
Oh, here they go. Little showtime, yes, sir! Yes, sir! Oh, Nelly, Nelly, Nelly! That is phenomenal!
We give points for volume, you've already heard Dick, and points for creativity. Witness UConn's Scott Burrell. You get 6 points for a TD, and Leroy Horde will get that, and points for innovation, too. What about orientation? That's quarterback Tony Easel. Tony, you're the QB, but on the QT, go catch a pass. And catch this, Michael Williams. And And watch this, Malik Sealy. And imagine this, Moses Malone getting ahead in volleyball off the head of Stacy Eastland. Score the point. Hang time. Joey Brown racking up some nice numbers. Same as Charles Shackelford, except the Shack hit the wrong rack. The wrong track, tried to take it in on Mutombo. Dikembe turns a block into a flowered garland hoop. Scottie Pippen, Horace Grant, doubling their pleasure. Chris Morris with a worthy move. Dennis Rodman exacting a high price. And the shot by Andrew Lang never even went clang. Totally extended, that's Tony Martin. Totally outrageous, that's Matt Othick. Totally in character, Dominique. Sending a prayer up there somewhere, Detlef Schrempf. Kenny Williams hears it. And the striking finale as Damon Sweet lives up to his name. Speaking of striking, we leave you with a way to have a ball without one.
Plays of the week is delivered.
Barry Hilton. Tracy Johnston recovers. Falcons' third block punt of the year. It set up one of two Steve Broussard TDs. Atlanta's up 17-7 when Chris Miller finds Andre Rison. Miller 19 of 28 for nearly 300 yards. It's 24-7. And then Miller to Michael Haynes in the third quarter, who had 9 receptions. Haynes for 112 yards. It was a blowout. 31-14. Atlanta's won 4 in a row. They are 6 in
previous encounters with the Buffalo Bills. L.A. was beat up by 48 points, last year's much publicized AFC title game, and by 14 last year during Week 5. So Sunday afternoon, Raider coach Art Shell sent out his defense once again to try to slow down the league's #1 offense to the Coliseum, a near-capacity Coliseum, and it's the Raiders' offense. Schrader with the pump fake, hits Tim Brown, and Mark Kelso can't bring him down. The Raiders would lead it 10-0 in the first quarter. On the ensuing kickoff, Al Edwards single-handedly trying to bring the Buffalo Bills back and put them on the scoreboard. He gets a great block from Steve Tasker coming out right there. 91 yards later, it's 10-7. Raiders led at 21-14 at the break. Fourth quarter, Raiders down by 7, a minute to go. Kelly, James Lofton, we're tied at 27. It would get worse for Art Shell. After a Raider interception, Scott Norwood, no. Third missed field goal, also missed an extra point. Why did it get bad for Art Shell? It got worse because Scott Norwood would get another chance. 42-yarder. The Bills win it. The Levy shuffle. He finally gets a field goal from Mr. Norwood when it counts the most. Sanders guy. Well, they didn't. Barry up the middle, a 51-yard jaunt. 14-0 Lions. The Jets would come back. It was 14-7, still in the first. Eric McMillan picks off Eric Kramer. Not only coming up with the INT, he did the dirty work, and he decides, well, I might as well take it back all the way. 14 all. Turnabout is fair play. Lions up 27-17 in the third. Brad Baxter fumbles the ball. Tracy Hayworth waltzes in from 28 yards. Tracy Hayworth. The Lions win it 34-20. Sanders 114 yards, 2 scores. But a costly victory for the Lions. Brad Baxter, the chop block on nose tackle Jerry Ball, left the game with a sprained knee. Ball spent the second half on the sidelines with Joe Dumars and Isaiah Thomas. Misery loves company. Barry Sanders said after the game it was the dirtiest game he's ever played in. Ball was yelling at Bruce Coslett, the Jets head coach, calling it dirty football. He says, I'm taking these game tapes right to the commissioner's office. They should not stand for this. 34-20 the final. Detroit registered its first 10-win season in 21 years. They're a step closer to their first playoff berth in 8 years. Next week, the Lions in Green Bay. The Jets will be hosting the Pats. While Barry Sanders gets most of the headlines, and rightfully so, that Detroit defense has definitely been part of the story. The past 3 weeks, in particular, they forced 5 turnovers on Sunday. They have averaged 4 sacks for the last 3 weeks, 3 interceptions, and nearly 3 fumbles. Bob?
Denver and time this year each. Barry Sanders and Emmitt Smith. These are the 3 best rushers in the conference. Sanders leading Smith by 27 yards. Sanders now with 16 TDs and 13.55 in. Do not forget Herschel, who went over the century mark for the Vikings in our game Sunday night.
Now to the aerial shows. Only a couple of 300 shows. Jim Kelly, the AFC's #1 passer, over 3,700 yards, 3 scores. The Patriots' Hugh Millen has thrown for 2,700 yards to go with 8 TDs, but also 5 INTs. And Vinny Testaverde, in the loss, 330 yards and 2 scores. Can't blame it on him.
Los playoffs, the NFC picture a little bit more clear 2 weeks to go. Skins clinched the home field through to the Super Bowl. Nobody else has clinched anything. Chicago would beat Detroit on a divisional tiebreak. Atlanta would beat New Orleans the same way. If the Lions and the NFC runner-up go, then one of those wildcard teams would make it. Only one would make it, but look at that. The Vikes with the win tonight are still very much mathematically alive.
In the AFC playoff picture, the Bills and Oilers have clinched their respective divisions, while the Broncos have clinched at least a playoff spot. So have the Chiefs. The Raiders still on the outside looking in. Seattle, Cleveland, and Miami still with a chance to get in to the playoffs.
You're in the middle of Christmas shopping, looking for something cheap that will be a hit with the opposition? I give you the Jets' Brad Baxter, putting the Lions' Jerry Ball out for the season. From the clearance rack, a really cheap shot by the Patriots' John Stevens against the Colts' John Baylor after an interception. Hey, all that shopping and office partying giving you a headache? Relax, we've got just what you need. Tell me, how did you get that headache anyway? Maybe it was from hits like this. In baseball, you know, if the umpire goes unnoticed, they say he's doing a good job. Yesterday at Giant Stadium, this umpire got plenty of notice after being hit by a Phil Simms aerial.
The good thing is he's got good avoidability. He can run if there's problems.
Maybe so, Coach, but try telling that to Phil Simms. And by the way, Phil, don't forget to call home for the holiday. You ever wish someone would just go away? You ever wish you find a needle and thread when you really need one? Did you ever wish you could find a doctor that makes house calls? Jim McMahon had no such problem. And did you ever wish that Eric Dickerson would really try for a change? Well, the Saints are trying. They really are. But their playoff tent seems to be folding of late. For sheer gallantry, nothing could top the effort of the Giants' Lawrence Taylor. But some folks are just hard to please.
Corey, the execution obviously didn't work out today, but how about the effort and the gut check and everything? Satisfied with it?
No, I'm not satisfied because it wasn't enough to win the game.
For sheer jubilation, nothing can top Patriots coach Dick McPherson. Come on, Coach. Doesn't a quarterback get enough abuse during the game? Ah, yes, playoff time is upon us. Time to welcome back old friends. Right, Bruce Smith? Time to stop by and say hello, even if you have to go out of your way. Time to suck it up and give it your all. Oh, well, you know what they say. 'Tis the season to be jolly.
Tonight's Bumps, Bites, and Bruises is presented by the United States.
A young left-handed pitcher to the Mariners. A few more baseballs will be landing there as well.
And he hits it way to left and...
Kevin Mitchell in the Kingdome? That's a pretty scary thought. But that's exactly what we'll see in 1992, as one of baseball's premier power hitters is now a Seattle Mariner. Hitting behind Will Clark in a poor hitter's ballpark in San Francisco, Mitchell has hit the most home runs in the major leagues over the past 3 seasons.
Will serve as Jeff Kemp's understudy, while Jim McMahon heals. Ironically, it was David Archer who used to be the second banana for McMahon when both were in San Diego.
Well, you know, it's a crash course, obviously. You know, it's one of those...
Some of the things that were said in the letters were, and this is probably the most blatant one, nigger, go back to Africa, you're the reason we have so many diseases in this world, you brought them over from Africa and are spreading them through the you know, the world, and you're nothing but a gorilla, and, you know, things like that. But, you know, out of all of that, it's made me a better person. It's made the people around me better people. And that was one of the particular letters that I wanted to share with some of my teammates. And I even showed it.
No. There's nothing to clear. I resent your bringing it up. It's wrong of you to bring it up. Do you have anything substantial? Anything? Then why do you bring it up? Why do you bring it up? Because some other jerk brought it up that has nothing substantial? You're wrong. I know I'm wrong. But then shut up.
It made me wonder.
Time Buffalo travels to the Hoosier Dome to try to break the Colts. Sports Center returns in a moment.
Chunky
what he has always done best, and that is shoot some hoops. This time with his old coach, Pat Riley. And afterward, Magic had the announcement his fans were waiting for.
You know, you don't have a schedule like I have and be unhealthy. As far as the Olympics, yes, I'm going to play. I plan on playing and going on with that mission. The only reason I decided not to play now is the fact that I wanted to live a long time.
Good to the field. He looks in. There's the ball.
That's a great throw. Oh, what timing.
If it's a little bit behind, it's knocked down. There. Now, when the ball is snapped, he looks at the safety, sees it's man-to-man coverage, knows he has one-on-one with Lofton. Now, watch his eyes. Watch where he's focusing. He's looking right at the safety. He knows right now he's got one.
Down passes and interception over Aikman, Testaverde, and Elway. But look at the number of sacks, 86. Here are the other #1 picks. 86 sacks.
Say he's held up when you think about, for example.
Yes, folks, he is 80% physically. He'll still make the Pro Bowl at 80%. He is something.
Missed 11 games. Watch him just come off the ball. There they go. I mean, he's supposed to follow the lineman.
Oh, with
and,
one hand.
I mean, what you do is you go up to Daryl Huffman and you say, hey, look, Darvell, try and get a little deeper on the reverse next time, will you?
And Darvell's going to say, don't call that one again, will you? So now Taylor made the saving tackle.
A lot of times you call out kicking your coverage, makes the first man miss. Now he gets to the wall, cuts up inside. See Stark trying to do what he can to steer him somewhere. Boy, that's a heck of a job by Alan Grant just to get his feet to slow him down.
He had a 59-yarder last week against the...
Cleaning up for him.
Prize there, but they couldn't sign him either. He and
Detroit and Green Bay. Detroit 0-4 outdoors this year. Leading 14-10 in the fourth quarter. Here's another punt return by a Pro Bowl punt returner, Mel Gray. Let's get him.
Thomas drives down the lane and meets up with the right elbow of Karl Malone. His forehead is cut open above the eye. Here comes Darrell Walker off the bench. He got fined $5 grand for leaving the bench. 5 Piston players and 6 Utah players also fined $500 apiece. And is Isaiah Thomas tough? Yes, he is. He got stitched up and actually returned to this game despite this vicious hit by the mailman who delivered it to the forehead of Isaiah Thomas. Well, retired L.A. Lakers star Magic Johnson says he and a group of investors are thinking about buying the NBA Sacramento Kings. Among the group of investors...
For Christmas and all through the land, it was wintry and cold, more than any rational being could stand. But then, these are Jet fans who've never been accused of being rational. This is the kind of year it's been for Jim Everett of the Rams. He finds a receiver wide open in the end zone, but it's Joey Browner of the Vikings. When you want to see somebody get his clock cleaned, watch this Packer power sweep. Tony Mandrich and Darrell Thompson with the blocks as Vince Workman scores. San Diego's Rod Bernstein goes 69 yards, in large part to Derek Walker's block on J.B. Brown. And the 49ers' Dexter Carter, untouched by human hands, 55 yards later, the touchdown. Oh, and here's one more clock cleaner. On Kelvin Martin's 85-yard punt return in Philadelphia yesterday, watch how Isaac Holt times his block, taking out the Eagles' Robert Drummond. Here's Mel Gray of the Lions against the Packers yesterday, returning this punt, 75 yards for the touch. On this punt by Harry Newsom, follow the bouncing ball. The Vikings thought they were going to down it inside the 5. Instead, they down it inside the 25. Here's the best interception of the weekend. Chris Dishman tipping the ball away from Webster Slaughter into the hands of Bo Orlando, both feet in bounds. Here's the second best INT by Atlanta's Tim McKyer with the lateral to Neon Deion, who does the flash and dash, and he's gone. And now here's the best second effort of the weekend. Cardinals wideout Ernie Jones, who also had the best third effort, which would result in a touchdown. And finally, for those of you who are wondering what the well-dressed Bronco fan is wearing this holiday season,
Monday Evening Quarterback is brought to you by Hyundai. Yes, Hyundai.
Williams, number 55, in a head-on collision with Danny Copeland of the Redskins, right there. Thankfully, no serious damage was done, although he was on the field for nearly 10 minutes. The backup offensive lineman flew home with the Giants after the loss last night. He's going to be okay. Robert Perryman, used primarily as a blocking back in the Broncos' offensive scheme, is through for the season after injuring the patella tendon right there on the left knee. The injury took place on only his 21st carry of the season. Tom?
Charlie, just a week to...
'Tis the holiday season, a time when we are reminded that it is truly better to give than to receive. And after Dexter Carter of the Niners plays Santa Claus for the Chiefs, Kevin Porter says, ho, ho, ho. Wait a minute, hold everything. Now let's get things straight here. When standing on the sidelines on a punt return, you must always beware of the unexpected, even from your own players, Marv Levy. Speaking of the unexpected, how long a season has it been for Boomer Esiason? First he gets hit late by Carnell Lake, then he gets it from the ref, right in the face. Give the guy a break. The Eagles could have all but wrapped up a playoff spot yesterday, but the Cowboys played the part of Scrooge.
What else you want? I mean, they #1 rated in everything. They all were. They all were, man. We just a little team out of Dallas trying to win some ball games.
Joe Kelly of the Jets came to play, but it wasn't enough against the Patriots. The Bills were up big early on the Colts, and then they got a little cocky, turning Andre Reed into a running back on this reverse.
This is a bad scenario.
And then there was the official in the Rams-Vikings game explaining a penalty in layman's language.
The defensive people calling confusing signals.
Mark Rippon got nailed against the Giants, but he'll trade a digit for 6 digits any day of the week.
I mean, it hurts.
So if you're frustrated, if you're in a foul mood, if you feel like you're carrying a heavy load, don't worry. Just let loose. After all, it could be worse. You could be playing quarterback on a Sunday afternoon.
Bumps, bites,
really got...
If there is a fast lane in pro football, the Redskins are in it. Mark Rippon put injury and inconsistency behind him and led Washington to 11 consecutive wins and the championship of the toughest division in football. But the greatest big-game quarterback in league history never took a snap in the '91 campaign. Joe Montana's elbow would not allow him to begin the regular season. Surgery followed. And one wonders if Super Joe played his final game on a cold January day against the Giants. And if it marked the end of an era for the once mighty 49ers.
So Montana's fate hangs in the balance, but there's no...
Allow him, kick me.
You're going to see senior citizens with head rags running down the street, teenagers jumping behind the bushes saying, what's happening?
Now, don't with me. I'm not nobody. I've had enough of this. I'm in because I'm the manager. That's 5 minutes.
I'll be having a fling with a pretty young thing till early morning.
You're like with MTV, huh?
Don't ask me that question. That's a ridiculous question.
I answered that thing 5 times already.
Yeah, if you persist, this interview today is over, I guarantee you.
I have never, ever, ever seen a game officiated as poorly as what this was officiated.
I'm so happy, I'm so happy that I was a part of this organization, and the players were great to me, and I just wish I had a chance to say thanks to them, because no one blamed me for that game, and they were all supportive, and that helps a lot.
I warned you, you get him straight down.
Nick, I told you.
Since a guy named O.J. 23 years ago, Fred.
You wonder why everybody else went to New York. Nice place to break here, but we've still... Indeed, there was magic in the air for Irvin Johnson, especially in the spring. In April, Johnson dealt the biggest assist of his or any career. It was number 9,888, one more than the great Oscar Robertson, and the new standard, the all-time record.
If you're listening, Dad, I just want to thank you and tell you that I love you so much. And to Mom, thank you too.
And it got better. the Lakers were able to buck the odds and knock off the Houston Rockets, the Golden State Warriors, and finally, the favored Portland Trail Blazers en route to the finals. All this with Magic leading the way. And then the finals, and the much-anticipated M and M matchup, Michael versus Magic. Both tried to play the individual angle down, but that was virtually impossible. When the smoke cleared away, it was Jordan's Bulls winning the title 4 victories. The offseason seemed to be full of promise for Magic Johnson. The one basketball accomplishment Johnson had never achieved finally came his way: selection to the United States Olympic basketball team. After winning titles at every level of the game, he would now get a shot at a gold medal. Johnson became the game's international ambassador when his Lakers played a preseason tournament in Paris. But after the team's arrival back in the States, and just 1 week into the regular season in which Johnson had not played a single game, Magic called a news conference. There was no preparing for the announcement that was to come.
Because of the HIV virus that I have attained, I will have to retire from the Lakers.
Johnson has never in his basketball career, high school, collegiate, or professional, ever backed down from a battle on the court. But now he is in the fight of his life, and the fight for other lives, a drum major in the march against AIDS.
Some products have dropped Johnson as a spokesman, and President Bush appointed him to the AIDS Commission, where Magic says his goal is to help break down the barriers that have prevented medical research from finding a cure.
And to help people.
And so they put whistle to lips now, ready to blow this year to an end shortly. Mercifully for some, the Cleveland Indians, the Indianapolis Colts, and the Road Warrior Sacramento Kings, just to name a few. 3 awfully solid cases of mistaken identity. But others would have this year go on forever. To what well do grown men go to find themselves? Is there a cup from which Jimmy Connors, for example, drank to somehow recall his youth for a few very special, nearly overwhelming nights at the U.S. Tennis Open? If there is such a cup, those with fists raised in glory along with him would gladly invest. Perhaps George Foreman merely shared his. Once a scowling menace, boxing enemy number 1, he gained weight, years, and a smile, and plodded through a succession of Tanktown Charlies before losing the heavyweight championship in a decision and made the Tonight Show because of it. Some recalled their tender years, others were in theirs when the spotlight came. John Daly, just 24, and only a legend with his driver, used that and the other 13 clubs in his bag to absolutely overwhelm the PGA Championship. But that driver, that driver turned him Bunyan-esque. Deion Sanders, just a baby himself, even had to use a helicopter at times to keep up with one of the toughest schedules in history, becoming the first man ever to play for 2 different teams, in 2 different sports, in the same city, at the same time. The NFL Falcons on Sunday, the Major League Braves on Monday. Strength of body, strength of character. American League umpire Steve Palermo somehow found the latter, taking a bandit's bullet and losing the use of his legs for a great while, brought back during a World Series to the grateful cheers of a nation that cared. Character within. Ask Lions offensive lineman Mike Utley, carried into a life of paralysis during a game with the Rams, his neck broken, but not his spirit, they say. Or Tommy Lasorda, who somehow managed to endure the tragic death of his son, absorbing himself in the furious pennant race that went to the final weekend instead. Or the pitcher Dave Dravecky, who became a giant of another sort, losing his arm to cancer but not his heart. Or Lyle Alzado, whose personal struggle with cancer became a national cause célèbre when he linked the cancer with steroid use. Or Bo Jackson, whose hip injury in a Raiders uniform gave way to rumors of permanent disability and dismissal by the baseball Royals, only to claw his way back to a memorable job with the White Sox. Or Willie Shoemaker, who rides a wheelchair now instead of a thoroughbred, thanks to a car accident, His dreams now of saddling winners as a trainer, but he is dreaming still, nonetheless. To dream, to fight. It has sadly become a bit of a cliche in our business. But imagine for a moment if Steve Palermo had not, if Lyle Alzado or Mike Utley could not, if Daly hadn't dreamed and Foreman hadn't believed and Sanders hadn't dared. But one thing, when the whistle does blow this year to an end, none of them will stop.
Achievement. I always figured Carl Lewis would be the guy to beat Beeman's mark. But Lewis was on a mission as well at that same Tokyo meet, blasting to a new world record in...
Begins with a storybook year for 17-year-old Monica Seles, the little girl who became the dominant player as she assumed the throne of women's tennis. First by capturing the Australian Open, then adding the French in June and the U.S. Open in September. Missing was the Wimbledon duel, which went to Steffi Graf. On the men's side, it was a year of parity in the Grand Slam. German Boris Becker claimed the Australian, American Jim Courier the French, German Michael Stich took Wimbledon, and Sweden Stefan Edberg claimed the U.S. Open. Team France will dance into the new year as Davis Cup champions after routing the United States for its first title since 1932. In golf, the U.S. boasted a major winner in Payne Stewart bonus. On the fast track, Rick Mears stood out among his... The Pittsburgh Penguins lived the best and worst of times. They captured their first ever Stanley Cup by beating Minnesota, but the summer-long celebration was tempered by the initial sickness and subsequent death of head coach Bob Johnson from a brain tumor. We bid farewell to other sports heroes, Red Grange, Leo DeRocher, and Chucky Mullins. We also saw the end of a career as Sugar Ray Leonard said he was done for good after yet another comeback. In baseball, we saw the history of Chicago's Comiskey Park give way to the wrecking ball, while all that remains of the Orioles in Memorial Stadium are memories as they move into a new home in the new year.
Well, they say the new Oriole Park is supposed to be the best yet.
Yeah, and new Comiskey. There was the good, Ken Caminiti showing us how to please from his knees. There was the bad, Brett Butler having his voice raised an octave or two by Junior. Well, I've heard of sixth men getting involved in the game, but Del Harris, that's a little bit ridiculous, don't you think? I'm sure Michael Adams does. Let me see, we've had the good and the bad, so that leaves the ugly. Jose Tejeda at the Pan Am Games, a perfect one-point dismount. Ow. This derivation of the old hidden ball trick, the old bug in the ear routine. And this deft pass from Manute Pole qualifies as ugly, don't you think? The only way to stop Ken Caminiti from snaring this pop-up is to hit him with a chair or something. So the security guy in Atlanta obliges. Errol Tucker of the Orlando Thunder on the punt return. He can see it now. Name up in lights, a spot in the NFL, endorsements, even our play of the day. But he never thought he'd make it doing this. Now, let's go for a little spin, shall we? Tyrone Enoch takes everybody to school and makes the beautiful assist. And speaking of being undressed, the Budweiser Daredevil tumbles right out of his trousers. And Chris Sabo of the Reds is a bit underdressed this at that. See what I mean? All right, calm down, dear. It's all over now. As far as the fantastic is concerned, you just cannot beat Michael Jordan. And how about high schooler Dee Barnes falling out of bounds? The behind-the-back heave. Nothing but nylon. And how about the huddle on the fly routine by these California preps? But the coup de grace may well be Rodney McRae taking it to and through the wall. Whoa! Whoa! Oh, well, I guess a nose by any other name doesn't always smell as sweet.
Oh, man.
Man, that hurts every time I see McRae go through.
Ugly final for Miami, 148-80. And it's hard to believe the Cavaliers actually lost to the Heat by 2 points a week ago in Miami. 8 Cavs finished with at least 10 points in the game. The 68-point margin of victory eclipses the mark of 63 points set on March 19th of 1972 when the Lakers beat Golden State. The 148 points are also a Cavaliers team record for points scored in regulation.
NFC, Redskins quarterback Mark Rippon, Eagles defensive end Reggie White, and Lions all-world running back Barry Sanders were unanimous selections. Over in the AFC, only the Bills running back Thurman Thomas was a unanimous choice. For the first time in Pro Bowl history, 4 teams have 8 players each spending February 2nd in Hawaii. Washington and Buffalo have the 2 best records in the NFL, while Houston has an NFL best 6 starters. 6 teams were shut out of the Pro Bowl this year. Those teams have a combined record of 22-68, and only the Jets have a shot at the playoffs. Some big names were shut out of this season's Pro Bowl as well. Last season, the Vikings had 3 defensive starters: Chris Dolman, Joey Browner, and Carl Lee. None of them made the squad this season. Just like the Vikings, the Giants dominated with 4 starters a year ago, including LT for a 10th straight time. This season, only center Bart Oates will be heading to Hawaii. While Lawrence Taylor misses the Pro Bowl for the first time in his 11-year career, Cincinnati's Anthony Munoz is the new king of the Pro Bowl. He's making his 11th consecutive start. From the It's About Time department, San Diego Chargers' Gil Bird selected for the first time to the Pro Bowl. He has more interceptions over the past 3 seasons than anyone, a total of 27.
Still ahead on SportsCenter, on the day in which the Pro Bowl teams were announced, we will pay tribute to
Jim Kelly, the Nigerian Nightmare, Christian Okoye, and a host of others. There you see the offensive line starters for the AFC. Ledger, 3 Philadelphia Eagle defensive linemen, Jerome Brown, Reggie White, and Clyde Simmons, are starting. The last time that many defensive linemen from the same team started in the same Pro Bowl was back in 1980. The Chargers had Big Hands Johnson, Freddie Dean, and Louis Kelcher. Remember him? All 3 starting for the AFC in that Pro Bowl. The Eagles' Seth Joyner also getting the nod at linebacker, along with Pat Swilling, Vaughn Johnson, and Sam Mills of the Saints. So the Saints dominating D is well represented. Darrell Green of the Redskins, Deion Sanders will be turning the neon off and on in Hawaii. Tim McDonald of the Cards, and Mark Carrier of the Bears. As far as the offensive side of the ledger, Mark Rippon from the Redskins, Barry Sanders, and Emmitt Smith. Nice backfield, isn't it? What about wide receivers? Michael Irvin and Jerry Rice. Can't get much better than that. Jay Novacek of the Dallas Cowboys. In the offensive line, the best in the business. Jim Lachey of the Redskins, Lomas Brown of the Lions, Guy McIntyre of the Niners, Randall McDaniel of the Vikings, Jay Hilgenberg, the veteran center of the Chicago Bears. The punter will be Rich Camarillo. The kicker, Chip Lowmiller of the Skins, Mel Gray of the Lions. Special teams represented by Benny Thompson of New Orleans.
It was a week when the cellar dwellers limped toward historical lows as the season wound down like a tired clock. Mike Tirico will take us.
Return 97 yards for a touchdown by Reggie Rutland. That score would seal the 9th straight loss for the Rams, giving them their longest losing streak since the team played in Cleveland way back in 1941. In Pittsburgh, Bubby Brister, playing for the first time in 2 months, threw 2 touchdowns to lead the Steelers to victory over the Bengals. Cincinnati dropping to 2-13. That assures Sam Weich's team of their worst season in the team's 24-year history. In Indianapolis, on ESPN, the Colts defense allowed the Bills to score on their first 3 possessions of the game. Indy never got close, losing 35-7, matching a franchise record 14 losses in this season. From the Who Would Have Thunk It department, the Giants in RFK against the Skins meant nothing to no one. Now to the upside. Warren Moon completing 26 passes Sunday, setting an NFL single-season record with 382 completions. The Oilers survived a last-second field goal attempt to match a team record for wins in a season with 11. The Lions got their 11th win, too, on Sunday, thanks to a 78-yard punt return by Mel Gray in the 4th quarter. The victory matching Detroit's all-time win mark for a season and clinching a playoff berth for the Lions' first time since 1983. The playoffs are where the Cowboys are headed thanks to Kelvin Martin's 85-yard punt return. Dallas with 17 in the 4th quarter to beat the Eagles, 25-13 for Dallas. First playoff berth since '85.
The Falcons' destination also postseason. Tim McKyer, the pick of Dave Craig, the pitch to Deion Sanders, and prime time did a little showtime on the return for the score. Atlanta wins 26-13. The Falcons reaching the playoffs. They're tied for the NFC West lead with New Orleans. On Monday night, the Saints got a career-best 320 yards from Bobby Hebert, snapping a 4-game losing streak. New Orleans holding the Raiders to 117 yards of total offense. Saints finally get to the playoffs. Raiders will now be a wild card because in Denver, John Elway sweeping to the right side to score the game-winning touchdown inside 2 minutes. And that gave the Broncos the AFC West title. Lone playoff spot left for the Dolphins, but they couldn't stop Rod Bernstein and the Chargers in the fourth quarter. Bernstein had 3 TDs. San Diego 28 points in the fourth to give them a 38-30 win over the Dolphins. Miami's fate awaits them today because the Jets lost to the Patriots thanks to 2 Charlie Bauman field goals. New York's playoff hopes now depend on the outcome of their game in Miami later today.
And now for a pregame analysis of the game Mike was talking about, the Dolphins.
Or incidental contact. The NBA forced to make that decision this week, and they did, hitting Karl Malone with a $10,000 fine and a 1-game suspension.
That's how I play. I play physical. If it would have been Charles Barkley or somebody coming in, I would have played just as hard. So I don't hold personal grudge against anybody because that's not the kind of player I am. And basically, I don't do that kind of thing. And it's one of those things that happen, and I can live with it. I can go ahead on with my life and my career.
Thomas suffering a 40-stitch cut above his eye that appears now to be more serious than we originally believed. Isaiah may not see action again until January. Reports that he's complaining of soreness and numbness around the eye. On Tuesday night, the Jazz went without their usual delivery from the mailman. Instead, Utah had to rely on the other first-class shooter named Malone, Jeff. He carried them past the Hornets. Jazzy Jeff poured in 34 season high. The Jazz won their 9th straight over the Hornets. On Monday, Mr. Robinson's neighborhood, well, the chapel was the stop in the neighborhood. David was a single man, but just an hour later, he came out a married man as the Admiral officially tied the knot. Then on Wednesday, Robinson experienced another first, his first fight. Early fourth quarter, Robinson and Washington's Harvey Grant came together under the basket. Both were ejected, Grant suspended for a game. It hurt the Spurs as they lost at home. Michael Adams leading Washington with 35, including an NBA high 6 3-pointers. The Cleveland Cavaliers turned a 20-point halftime lead over Miami into the most lopsided victory in the history of the NBA Tuesday night, a 68-point win over the Heat. 8 Cavs scored in double figures. Mark Price and John Battle each had 18. Also on Tuesday night, the Lakers returned to Chicago Stadium, their first visit since last year's NBA Finals. James Worthy scored 25, L.A. handing the Bulls only their 2nd loss in 19 games. The shocker of the night, second half, Michael Jordan doing the unthinkable. The sportsman of the year missed a dunk. Jordan still finished with 21, but the Bulls' home winning streak stopped at 8. The Golden State Warriors defeated Minnesota on Tuesday night. No big deal. They're supposed to. But Chris Mullin won't soon forget the game. He scored his 10,000th point of his NBA career. This little 3-foot hesitation banker in the fourth. Mullin is the 196th consecutive game for him that he's reached double figures, while the struggling T-Wolves committed a season-high 23 turnovers. And the comeback award of the week, it has to go to the Knicks. They erased a 9-point deficit with a 19-0 run and stay the NBA's only home unbeaten as they held the Nets scoreless for over 7 minutes in the fourth. John Starks off the bench for Pat Riley with 27 points, 16 in the decisive fourth period.
Dick is standing by with another edition of...
Especially when you could be the bacon. So what's on TV? How about some Sunday night NFL on ESPN? Yeah, let's watch them toss around the old pigskin. Don't say pigskin.
Sunday night NFL on ESPN. Hey, boys, let's pig out.
America, let's pig out ESPN.
Want some pork rinds?
Oh, Dad, pig out.
72 degrees with winds 1 mile an hour from the north, south, east, and west. Elsewhere around the league, Miami, perfect for the Jets at Miami game. Could be raining in Dallas for a game that could involve playoff position, Dallas and Atlanta. And in Buffalo, not bad for the game between Buffalo and the Detroit Lions. One thing about our game tonight, the last game for John Robinson as coach of the the touchdown production is way, way down, and yards per game is down, although a lot of people will take 233. That's fine, but for Marino against the Jets, it's down. So the Jets like their shot today. 2-minute warning. Here we go. Let's start with that big question about him. He's going to start, as will safety Benny Blades. Mike Cofer, some thought that he might be activated this week. The linebacker, former Pro Bowl linebacker, has been hurt just about all year, but he did not make the trip. That decision will come later. Bills, here's the word you need to know about Buffalo today: precautionary measures. What does that mean? Jim Kelly, third quarterback, emergency quarterback, forget it. He's not going to play. Frank Reich is going to play most of the game. Gail Gilbert will probably play at quarterback. Thurman Thomas, not going to start. It'll be Kenneth Davis. Thurman might try to make it 2 in a row outdoors today in Buffalo, a slightly tougher place. Bills have won 17 in a row at Rich Stadium, 32-2 there over the last 4 years. Now, Tommy, we told you Thurman Thomas may just play a smidge today, but still, Thurman Thomas, Barry Sanders on the same field, same time, pretty exciting.
It should be a great show, Chris. In the NFL, throughout the history of the league, running the football has been an art form. The power of Jim Brown, the grace of Gale Sayers, or the versatility of Walter Payton. Now add 2 more names to that elite list. Both have an abundance of talent. They even played together at Oklahoma State. Thurman Thomas and Barry Sanders are as valuable to their teams as any 2 players in the league.
I'm not the type of guy who loves to just really shake and bake like O.J. Simpson or something like that, but I will get to a point where I can catch a defensive player off stride.
Like when you're a kid, I mean, you're playing tag and you arch your back and you do all kinds of crazy stuff, so no one can touch you.
And he's the most popular.
You know, the best overall, the best running.
Everybody always asks me, who's the best running back in the National Football League? And sometimes we'll say, I don't know, but I know they went to Oklahoma State, though.
You know, as you move around the league...
Super Bowl 17, Riggins and the Hogs hammer the Dolphins.
I mean, it was the year of the hog. I don't know what it is in China, but in Washington.
Actually, you know, the Chinese New Year, this is the year of the hog. As of 2 weeks ago, yeah.
Is it?
Check your Chinese calendar.
Super Bowl 23, Doug Williams and Tim Smith are never touched by the Broncos. $1991, the Redskins roll to the NFL's best record.
Back to the Buffalo Bills.
Troy Aikman was on target from the start. The Colts were not. There would be a whole new look in Atlanta. Come with us as we flush out the memorable moments of the '91 season. The ugliest looking touchdown had to be Bernie Kosar to Leroy Horde. But sometimes ugly is bad. And these two combined on more than one bad touchdown. Cap Bozo tried grass cap Bozo in a sight for the ages. There were others.
One picked up Al Smith. He's loose in midfield. At the 40, at the 30, at the 20. Al Smith is going to score a touchdown.
If your last name begins with a C, then you got an A in catches. Mark Clayton, Chris Carter, Gary Clark. Step to the head of the class, but you aren't alone. It's hard to make great catches if there isn't someone there to rifle it to you, a la John Elway. Best hits? How about best hits on an analyst?
Now, for Keith Millard, he's almost home again as training camp nears an end.
Up in it, sir.
Is it Hail Marys or Hails Mary? It doesn't matter. There were tons of them. Dick McPherson's Patriots had him pumped up all year. But even he'd admit there were other feats performed in other parts that would have made him jump with glee.
Wow. Wow.
And we in the end zone.
Wow. Working. Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. What's up?
Oh, that was some fun. We've had some fun this year, haven't we? You know, and looking back and work.
You gave us a try, now hit subscribe. Be sure to YouTube responsibly and hit that like button if you like what you see, because there's plenty of content to come.